Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal. And I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey David, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I have had the humidifier running all day, so I'm not coughing as much, although we'll see
hmm
about that. You're over your third booster by now, Bruce?
Yeah, yesterday was a bit tough.
Second booster, I guess.
Well, the booster. This is
Booster.
my third shot, and yesterday was tough. Not quite as tough as it was after the second shot. I was really down and out the day after that. But yesterday I spent several hours sleeping. Let's put it that way, and didn't have a lot of oomph. But today bounced back just like last time. The day after was fine. Sore arm.
Yeah. Bruce,
Worth
the
it.
Oilers broke their losing streak at six
They sure
games.
did.
And it was a really interesting game in a lot of ways. At least the first period was a very fascinating first period of hockey. Um, let's just get right to it. They won the game 5-2 in the end over the Columbus Blue Jackets. We'll go two good things, two bad things, and two numbers. Because it's a end of a 6-game losing streak, we'll do two good things each. What's your first good thing, Bruce?
Yeah, well, I got to start out with the good thing that was tonight's number one star, Jesse Puljujärvi, had a huge game for the Oilers tonight with uh, breaking open the game early with two power play goals on essentially the same power play when Columbus took two penalties on the same play. One, a real dumb one for playing without a helmet, where Jakub Voracek kind of fell asleep and stayed in the play with his helmet off, which is now verboten. And the play went on long enough for Kailer Yamamoto to make essentially his one contribution to the win, but it was a big one. He drew a penalty, which is one of his skills he's very good at, and it gave the Oilers a two-man advantage. 5-on-3, Puljujärvi scores. One guy comes out of the box. Power play continues 5-on-4. Puljujärvi scores again. And this is being the net front guy. And with Zach Hyman currently out of commission, yes, is the only net front guy that they really have. So he's getting more action. Like tonight, he played um, 5 minutes and 45 seconds on the penalty power play. Draisaitl
Oh.
5:52, McDavid 5:29, Nugent Hopkins 5:38. In other words, he was a full-time member of the power play unit without switching off for Hyman partway through. And he scored those two goals. He pounded 8 shots on net to lead the Oilers. Uh, and it wasn't just that, David. He made, to my eye, at least 4 stretch passes in this game from his own, deep inside his own zone to send a teammate away. I believe the first 3 were all to McDavid. Certainly 2 of the 3 were. That led to dangerous rushes. I think 3 of them turned into what we considered high danger or grade A shots. And one of them, was a good pass that just didn't lead to anything. And then, of course, the last one was the one where he blocked a shot and then made an excellent stretch pass to Warren Fogle for the empty netter that finally put this one to bed at 5-2. So 2 goals and assists. And I just thought he played a strong game at both ends of the ice, and he was all over it tonight. So deservedly first star.
Maybe his best game as a professional in some ways, Bruce, just with his
Some ways.
confidence and dexterity with the puck. Um, it's one thing that's just a little bit missing from Puljujärvi's game now and then is that kind of fine. And even tonight, like he missed some of the shots.
He
He
had a
missed a
hat trick
couple.
on his stick there, that one player, didn't he?
Yeah. So we saw it a little bit tonight. I mean, he's still, still a young guy growing into his body. He's this great big guy, and he's getting more and more coordinated and getting better and better. At the
Yeah.
start of the year, there was a debate, and there's still is. I guess it's not over between Yamamoto and Puljujärvi. There might just be money for one of these guys. I think
So,
the bet's looking pretty good on the Bison King getting that money, and
yep.
he's going to get that kind of Batherson. Um, what was the guy in Philly who got that big contract too? Another forward,
Farabee, Joel
Farabee.
Farabee.
Batherson's doing quite well. I understand. I'm not sure about Farabee.
Does he ever? Can that guy ever shoot the puck? Anyway, yeah, he's in that class of young forward that's about to get paid,
Yeah,
and they'll have to do a little tap dancing to find the cap room to lock him up for any kind of term, I think, and hopefully they do find the cap room because he's the kind of player they should be building around.
yeah. He's a he's an aircraft carrier out there. Big, great, big guy,
Mhm.
skilled. You want to keep him. Bruce, my good thing is Stuart Skinner, and the Oilers did their damnedest to give this game away in the first few minutes. There was two odd man rushes, and we won't get into the details of them because they're going to come up in our bad things. But there was two odd man rushes, and one of them was just a goal because Zach Werenski didn't take enough time to pick the open half of the net, shot it right at Skinner. Skinner made a really good save off Roslovic on the other one, which was a 3-on-1. He made four, at least four great saves. Bruce, there was 16. The grade A shots were 16-16 in this
It's a
game.
lot.
Both, yeah, a lot of grade A shots. He only let in two of them. He had a great game, and he's just based on recent performance. They're got to go to back to him for the next game. Like he's the number one goalie right now in Edmonton. You had to give it to Mikko at the start of the year for his winning
Oh,
record,
next game. Good question.
but Stuart Skinner's been playing great. Even in his losses, he's had I think one or two bad games out of the games that he's played, but he's been pretty solid every game. And man, did he ever look good at this game? He's handling the puck well. He's making all the saves. And early in the game, when this team's confidence could have easily been
Oh,
destroyed, shattered, he kept them in this game. So
mhm.
Stuart Skinner's my first good thing. What's your second, Bruce?
Okay. Well, our two are going to be kind of parallel, but I'm going to pick one of these guys, Derek Ryan. The Oilers got the best performance they've gotten all year from a bottom six line tonight, and I refer to the line of Ryan, Cassian, and Perlini, all of whom had very strong games. In the case of Ryan, he played a lot, almost 14 minutes, and 21 shifts to lead the team, tied with Nugent Hopkins, because of course he does lots of work on the penalty kill. He led the forwards in ice time on the penalty kill tonight, and did well in that function. Uh, but he scored a nice goal by going to the net by tipping. I don't know if it's been officially credited yet. Tipping Perlini's outside shot that forced I would say, forced the rebound from Elvis Merzlikins because the shot coming into him was tipped right in front of him. And then he jumped on that rebound and was able to stuff it through and get his first goal in was it 23 games for him? 23 games without a goal. He got one tonight, and let's just say there are vacancies on the Schneid tonight because several Oilers got off of it. And Derek Ryan was one of those guys. Just, his numbers, I mean, they stand out to me. Three shots, two hits, two takeaways, 9 and 5 on the faceoff dot, 64%, and nothing. +2 with a goal, and some decent work sort of driving through the slot on the Perlini goal, even though he didn't get a point on it. That was a play where all three line mates had their contributions to it in one way or another, and just overall. Uh, oh, one more number for Derek Ryan. When he was on the ice, the Oilers outshot Columbus 12-4. This is a bottom six line for the Oilers, outshooting the other guys 12-4, outscoring them 2-0. Like, this is manna from heaven for this team.
It was an amazing thing considering how much attention's been paid to how poor the bottom six have been on the
Yeah,
Oilers.
well, it's high time, but it's great to see. Let's welcome it and let's credit it when it happens. As they were a huge part of the win.
Uh, I'm going to go with Brendan Perlini as my other good thing.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So he's someone who in his first I don't know how many games with the Oilers, whatever many games that was, he hardly made a good offensive play. after lighting it up in the preseason. In those first games, he just couldn't get anything going. This was the first time he looked like the Brendan Perlini of the preseason in this game back, and he was fantastic. He got off a really good outside shot, hard shot on net on Ryan's goal. His own goal was a fantastic snipe that picked the corner. And then he got off another really hard grade A shot in the third. Kind of, I think it was can't remember the circumstance right now. He got 7 shots in total, and when he was on the ice, they outshot CBJ 12-3. He had the best out shooting record on the Oilers. So if he can continue to put anything close to this together, I mean, he does have some offensive ability. We just didn't see it in game after game after game, but we finally saw it tonight. So good for Brendan Perlini. Great game.
Well, he played 13 games up till now with 0 points, -4. The Oilers hadn't so much as scored a single goal while he was on the ice, and he had 6 shots on net in 13 games combined. Tonight, one game, he had 7 shots on net. So he more than doubled his season total in one game. And he looked like a completely different guy. Like he was just flying around out there, zooming around in the offensive zone. He did one little button hook in the corner, and he wired a shot from almost the boards that caught the post on the near side and almost overpowered the goalie from there. And he had the shooter mentality. And you know what happened was he became the odd man out a couple of weeks ago. He went down to Bakersfield. I think he played 2 games, and the second one he scored 2 goals. And then circumstances with 2 guys going into COVID protocol. First of all, he got called up, and then he got forced into the lineup because they only had 12 forwards, so they had to use him tonight. And this was, last chance Texaco, as my friend Lowtide likes to put it. And he took that chance and absolutely seized it with a tremendous game. Like full credit to him. And I'll chip in. We don't have enough good things to go around, but all 3 members of that line contributed. Zach Cassian had his best game in quite some time. He had 4 hits and a couple of shots, including one that was converted on the rebound, and 2 very fine defensive plays from Zach Cassian. One excellent one in the low slot that broke up a dangerous chance. And this is, again, welcome it. We haven't seen it often, but we saw it tonight. And this was a strong performance by all 3 guys on that makeshift line.
I only gave Cassian a 5. Maybe I was a little hard on him.
I thought he was all right.
I didn't really know.
He was. I mean, I think we got the right 2 guys as being the 2 standouts. But Cassian was a good complementary player on that line for sure.
Well, 2 great big wingers to play with little Ryan there, and Ryan's a smart player. Bad things. Let's move on to bad things. What's your bad thing, Bruce?
Yeah, Duncan Keith had, in a game where the Oilers needed a strong start, and he was culpable on 2 wide open odd man rushes by Columbus in the first 6 or 7 minutes. I mean, you referenced them because of the save Stuart Skinner made to bail his teammates out. Well, one of those teammates in both cases was Duncan Keith, who was too deep in the zone and blew a tire and went down on the first one, leaving Cody Ceci alone to try and cope with the 2-on-1. And then on the second one, just making a horrendous pinch up the board when, again, there was no forwards behind in support of him, and he got beat on that pinch, and that one wound up being a 3-on-1, and another outstanding save by Skinner. And the trouble is, we got away with those ones, but there was a few. David, how many we got here?
He took a bad penalty.
3. He took a bad penalty. He deflected a shot on his own net. We have him was culpable on 7 Columbus scoring chances, including one of the goals. And, that's just not a good number for any defenseman, and not for a guy that isn't creating a whole lot at the other end of the ice. So
yeah,
0-4, 7 against.
Yeah. I thought he settled down after the first. I mean,
the first period was the worst, but
he was headed for a grade of 2. He ended up with a 3 because he was slightly better, but he wasn't. It was a poor game, And yeah, he's dragging down his partner a bit. Cece, I thought, was fairly strong. He got beat on one goal in front of the net. There was a rebound, and he just got beat on the play. But other than that, yeah, Keith, just crank it up, veteran. Let's get her done. That's what you're here for. He is just back from injury. Sometimes it
Yeah.
takes a while.
Hmm.
So we'll see how he does. I mean, I have been okay with his play up until now, I would say. That was not an okay game. That was a poor
No, it
game.
was.
So you're right to pick him, Bruce.
I like
My
him
bad.
with the puck on a stick, and
Yeah,
he made some good passes in this game as well. But as a defenseman, his defending is a big part of his job description, and tonight it wasn't good enough.
excuse me. My bad thing is Leon's first shift,
Hmm.
and he's a leader on this team. He's one of the veterans on this team. He's an assistant captain, and on his first shift of the game, he makes a turnover. He passes behind the player he's trying to hit. Then Duncan Keith wipes out, which is the main problem on this play is Keith wiping out. But it does lead to a 2-on-1, which then turns into kind of a 3-on something, maybe just 3-on-1 or 3-on-2. But Leon was kind of late on the back check there. So
Okay.
just these weren't terrible plays by Leon. The turnover did kick off the sequence, but it could have so easily been 1-0. And as one of the leaders on the team, I just think he's got to really he's got to hustle harder on the back check there. He's got and the turnover, these things will happen to any player, but I didn't love his play on that particular goal against or not goal against 5 alarm chance against. So
Right. Well, there's the two odd man rushes, so I may have them conflated. But the on one of them, McTavish actually in the broadcast talked about Leon busting his butt on the back check and turning it into catching up with the first guy, and then it was the late trailer that wound up with the chance. So,
it wasn't
but
the first. It wasn't the first one, I can
yeah,
assure
okay,
you. If it is, I disagree with McT.
okay,
I didn't see Leon hustling back on that one at all. So
okay,
um, the first one, I think the CBG player cuts across the slot
yeah,
to beat Nurse across the slot. He made a very good offensive play. I think it was Bjorkstrand or whatever his name is.
Bjorkstrand, yeah.
Yeah. And then that's when the trailer got hit with the pass. So, and that it was the trailer who got the shot off. So if someone was busting his butt to get to him, he didn't get there in time.
Well,
Um,
he caught the first Columbus guy, but there was a 2-on-1, and he, like I say, I'm at this moment. I can't remember which of the two odd man rushes it
yeah,
was that Leon overtook the second Columbus attacker, but nobody got the third guy because Keith was out of the play, and neither of the other forwards was able to pick him up. So
sure.
yeah.
Maybe
Anyway,
that was the second one. I don't know. Bruce, what's your number?
my number is $10 million from the Edmonton Oilers Community Foundation that they have donated to the Boyle Street Community Services for construction or renovation of a new downtown project. And this lifted my heart, David, that they all that money that they're bringing in off the 50/50s is a ridiculous amount of money that they're getting half of. They're actually putting to something as obviously good for the community and in the immediate vicinity of Rogers Place where they are, that they're making a significant contribution to an important community effort. And my hat is off to the Edmonton Oilers Community Foundation and for whoever is working out the details of all that they could make such an immense contribution where it's so badly needed.
Do you know where they're building it? Did they make that clear? Is it on the
Yeah,
site? Is it on
107,
this?
2 blocks north, 100th Street and 107A Avenue. So just right on, I think, the north side of 107A Avenue, and there's some kind of big existing building there, but they're going to do major renovations and
Okay.
turn that in. And the previous site, they sold that building to the Oilers, Edmonton Oilers, OEG
Yeah.
for $5 million in a separate transaction. Uh, so the Oilers entertainment group have got a new property downtown, and what they paid, the list value for that, and the Boyle Street project that's estimated at $28 million. They got half of that money in one fell swoop with these, a $5 million sale and a $10 million donation. And to me, this is important work that's been done in our community, and it deserves to be called out and credited. The Oilers take a lot of crap from this community, and some of it they certainly deserve. But to me, they mended a big fence with this move.
Yeah. I mean, the old building's a terrible rundown
Hmm.
building, right?
Yeah,
And
it
it was
had to
it
change.
was a problem building right where that is. You could never redevelop that area. So this is a bit of a win-win. Like the Oilers, they are doing a great service for the community. The
Hmm.
Oilers also get a win out of this, Bruce.
Yep.
They're going to be able to more easily now redevelop the area right around the excuse me, around the arena, which has always been their plan.
Hmm.
And this will be off to the side a little bit. Beautiful facility that they're planning. I mean, it looks absolutely spectacular, and obviously fulfilling a great service, taking care of homeless people and other people downtown. All kinds of services run out of the Boyle Street Co-op. So I think this is a win. It's a win
Yep.
for Boyle Street, win for the Oilers, and a win for downtown, because I do think it's going to make it easier to develop that area around the arena and get even more stuff going on there, which is also it's always been part of the plan,
Right.
and a need for the city of Edmonton to get a better downtown. So yeah, we had that debate long and hard, Bruce,
Uh-huh.
a few years ago, as you might recall.
Yes.
Alrighty, my number is My number is 0.922, which is Stuart Skinner's save percentage, which is the 14th best save percentage of anyone who's
Oh,
played more than 8 games. I've just picked 8 games because he's played 9
okay.
in the NHL. So he's in the top 15 goalies right now. The kid's playing great hockey.
Mhm.
He's making a real run for it here, Bruce. In terms of they've got Smith for
Wow.
another year. He's
What do
making
they
a
do
real
when he gets back?
see how he plays. Let's see how Mike Smith plays, right? Because his contract isn't so much that you couldn't just gack it, right? Send it to the minors or do eat it or whatever. Like he could be the third goalie or whatever if he's not healthy enough to play.
Right.
But Stuart Skinner's looking like he's going to be one of the goalies next year. Whoever else is here, we don't know yet.
Right.
But Stuart Skinner is going to be here, I think. Might
Okay.
be a little premature to say that. Things can change fast for goalies, but he's just
He's
looked
making his
good,
case.
Bruce. He's
Yes.
looked solid. He's moved well. I remember being so concerned about him when I first saw him in his first year in the AHL. He just didn't. He has transformed his movement in the net. He's so solid in position all the time. Again in his first year, he just reminded me a little bit too much of Jeff Drouin du Laurier, who was always kind of losing his net.
Right.
And I saw a little bit of that in Skinner then. I
Hmm.
don't see that anymore at all. I'm just really impressed with him. So he's got a future, I think, with the Edmonton Oilers.
So you're saying Dustin Schwartz may not be the worst goalie coach in the history of goalie coaches?
I don't know anything about
That
it.
maybe the kids developed a little bit on his watch. I don't know a lot about it either, but I kind of laugh when I hear the blame being tossed around by other people who don't know a whole lot about it. But
Well, Bruce, it might
anyway.
be Sylvain Rodrigue, right? Who's the goalie coach in Bakersfield who deserves the
Hmm.
credit. We don't even know, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the thing. We don't know on
Right.
something like this.
Oh,
Um,
that's true.
yeah.
Anyway, yeah, he's doing well. He's making his case. He did not have an easy night's work tonight. This was kind of a loose game, looser
Yeah.
than really it should have been given the margin the Oilers were ahead. I will say his posts also had a very fine game tonight, making at least three saves
Yeah.
on his behalf. But you know what I liked about Skinner tonight was his puck handling. I thought he looked good. He looked confident. He made good decisions, when to come out, where to move the puck to, and he looked a lot closer to competent at that important function um, than well almost we ever see out of Koskinen. And I would say Skinner is clearly a, a, uh, a cut above in terms of what he's trying to do with the puck out there, and that was a nice part of his game tonight. Love the save he made with his right pad off that deflection. late in the second period. There was the shot from the point, and the guy tipped it out of the air, and that was a tremendous reaction save. And just 38 shots he had tonight, 45 to 38. There was 83 shots in this game. So even though it was in some senses, if you look just at the scoreboard, a cakewalk, it was because Stuart Skinner helped the Oilers maintain the big lead when they started to get sloppy.
Here's a thought for you, Bruce. If Mike Smith comes back and plays well and Skinner keeps playing well,
Yeah,
who goes to the minors?
that was my original question. It wasn't next year. It was like right away. What do they do if Smith comes back? Who's going to be the backup? The default is you send Skinner out because he doesn't need waivers. You have a established veteran, and you get Smith more games down in the minors, and Koskinen, who's a proven backup. If he actually is the backup, that's the default. But Skinner's making a case for himself to be considered in the here and now.
It's all about winning. Koskinen doesn't have he's got a no trade clause. He doesn't have a no movement clause.
Right.
At this point, I would keep Skinner in Edmonton and put Koskinen down in the minors myself. That's what I would do right now. Now that could change. We got to see how Skinner does. You know, everything's open for change based on performance. That's the NHL. But Skinner's outplaying Koskinen by a wide margin right now. So we'll see what happens. It's an interesting thing. Because I think it would be good for Skinner to be around Smith. Just in terms of the puck moving, seeing him do that. Because Skinner has that in him, I believe, to be that kind of goalie who can dominate with the puck like Mike Smith does. So that might be the payoff.
Yeah.
Even if he doesn't play, even if he just plays 1 out of 3 games, he could play that much. That's a lot of hockey, and he's in the NHL, and he's learning at the pro level. So that might be the smart move in terms of his development at this point. I mean, he's been in the AHL for 3 years already, and excuse me. Well, I think he was in the ECHL, AHL 1 year, and then 2 years in the AHL. And so anyway, he's ripe. So yeah, maybe we'll see that, and maybe it'll be Koskinen who goes down. They're not too worried about him clearing waivers, I don't think. So
no, probably not. That's not a concern. Those kind of contracts clear waivers every time, and so I guess it's not impossible. It would be unconventional, and I would be surprised if they did it. And and you say it's about winning. Well, somebody looking at the raw numbers could say, well, Koskinen is 12 wins, 6 losses, and Skinner's 3 wins, 5 losses. So if it's about winning, you got to choose Koskinen. No, I say
but
it's
now,
about
would you make that
stopping the
argument
puck.
yourself, or is this an
Well,
imaginary
no,
person
I'm
making?
just saying somebody could say if it's about winning, the team's done better and
I
won
know that.
more games with Koski, but he certainly has hit the skids this last while and lost his last 4 in a row. He was 12-2 at one point. But
Yeah.
and Skinner, he hasn't had the team necessarily playing their best games in front of him. He's had a couple of games where the team kind of stunk it out, but tonight's win is a big turnaround. And you're right there with your original comment. Very interesting to see who they go with on Saturday night in Seattle, where Skinner played and lost 4-3 a couple of weeks ago to kick off this 6-game losing streak. So,
It'll be
but
Skinner.
I'd be tempted to go right back to him unless Smith is ready. And when Smith is ready, he's going to play. So,
Yeah. So Koskinen, his last his last 11 games, Bruce. So he played 5 games, and we'll just start with his last 4 games. He had an 861 save percentage in his last 4 games. The 2 games before that, he was good. He had a 944 save percentage, 2 really, really good games. But then the 5 games before that, when he had 4 wins and 1 loss, he had an 870 save percentage. So that's out of 11 games, he's had two good ones. So he's not getting it done right now. We'll see what happens. Bruce, let's leave it there. I gotta go get a drink of water and suck on a cough drop and stand by my humidifier. Maybe I'll watch some Yellowstone. I'm going to start watching that. So I just finished Succession. I don't know if you watched that show, but that was just fantastic.
yeah.
Oh, do you watch? Do you have HBO?
No, I have Netflix.
Oh, all right.
I've been watching Cat People.
Cat People.
and the crown. And oh, my cat, by the way, we had an emergency with her here a couple of weeks
That's
ago,
right.
and we never
Cat
updated
Stevens.
anybody. Well, she's been wearing a cone for the last 2 weeks, and today she had the cone removed, and her face is all healed up pretty good, and she didn't scratch the crap out of it when the cone came off, so it's all looking positive.
All good. That's good to hear.
Hmm.
Way to go, Cat Stevens.
Hmm.
Bruce, great to talk to you tonight.
Yeah, love talking about Oilers winning a game. High time. So we can have smiling faces tonight
Yeah.
and enjoy the conversation. So thanks very much for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.